I received a text this week saying as follows: Parshat Acharei Mot Kedoshim bears a name that is very evocative. Following the death of the martyrs, the Parsha begins with a brief reference to the deaths of Aharon's two older sons, Nadav and Avihu. Immediately upon their deaths, Moshe speaks to Aharon and offers comforting words, and the Torah tells us, Vayidom Aharon, and Aharon was silent. There is tremendous fortitude in that silence, immense inner strength. But we also see that such strength was reinforced by the support and the comfort of the entire nation. Aharon's pain and loss were not borne alone. He had all of the Bnei Israel together with him in his grief. This year, for the third year in a row, we mark Parshat Acharei Mot Kedoshim by increasing our awareness of bereavement within our communities. We identify with the pain that is experienced on a daily basis by families who have lost children to illness, accident, or any other tragedy in an effort to add some happiness and comfort to their lives. The deaths of Aharon's sons was a tragedy that shook humanity, but it also brought out the best in every Jew, leading to greater cohesion within the nation and a greater understanding of the human condition. No less of a tragedy shakes families to their core when a child dies. And there is no less of a need for mutual support and comfort in the face of such visceral pain. Every year, some 800 children, aged 0 to 18, Rahman al-Itzlan, die in Israel from illness or other tragedies. This past year has brought the need for personal and communal support for their families much closer and made it much more tangible. On this Shabbat, we tell the families who have lost children, you are not alone in this. Communities across Israel will be engaging in the issue of civilian bereavement, empowering bereaved families, mutual engagement, and partnership. I received this from a man named Pini Rabinovich, whose daughter Dasi Rabinovich, Zichrona Levaracha, died over 20 years ago. And Pini felt that there was an importance and certainly a cause for everyone to understand and at the very least to sympathize and empathize with grievers, people who are bereaved as a result of the loss of their children, Rahman al-Itzlan. And so he certainly went out and introduced this effort for people to connect, to desire, to demonstrate a willingness and a desire to understand and to be compassionate to bereaved families who suffer the loss of a child. Acharei Mot Kedoshim. After the death of Aharon's sons, the Torah records Acharei Mot Shnei Bnei Aharon, and immediately following the ensuing pasuk, in Perek Tetzayin Pasuk Gimel, it says, Bezot Yavo Aharon El HaKodesh Bepar Ben Bakar Lechatat Va'ayul Le'ola. Torah says, with this, Aharon will come to the Kodesh, immediately after Acharei Mot Shnei Bnei Aharon, after the death of two of his sons. And the obvious question is, what is Bezot? What exactly does it mean? That's a rather vague reference that the Torah makes. What is, or with what, should Aharon approach the Kodesh? That is not clear, and that is certainly left to conjecture within the context of the Torah. And I saw a fascinating insight that certainly connects and resonates with the message with which I began regarding this Shabbat being the Shabbat which is marked for bereavement and bereaved families. Bezot Yavo Aharon, says the Rashar Hirsch, B'ikanso el HaMikdash, when Aharon enters the confines of the Mikdash, Alav latet bitui lemashma'ut tafkido. He must carry, he must bear with him the understanding, the purpose, the meaning of the essence of his job, to understand his purpose, to understand his raison d'etre, the reason for his existence. And the Torah says, "V'leshavoto l'nagdo tamid," and to constantly, consistently remind himself that there is a reason, there is a purpose for my existence, for my essence. And therefore, what the Torah is reminding us is that Aharon's resilience, Aharon's capability to continue to serve God, to continue to serve the Jewish people, to enter the bowels and the confines of the Mikdash, and to embellish himself in holiness, is by reminding himself that there is reason for his existence, to continue on in that mission. Says the Rashar Hirsch, Rav Shamshon Mefal Hirsch continues, Alav li kanes kepar. He has to come into the confines of the Mikdash like the par, like almost an animal that is prepared or willing or knows that it will be sacrificed. Alav lihitmaser la'avodat ha'kehuna. Aharon has to understand and he has to embrace the mission of being completely committed to God's service, to the service of Hashem, to the service of the Jewish people. To be a friend and to be completely consumed and to understand what it means to serve Hashem and to serve the confines of the Mikdash. Last week, a friend came to me, a very close friend of mine, and he said to me, Shalom, he said, I see that everything that you do, and I get it, I don't want to sound insensitive to you at all. I understand that everything that you do is L'ilui Nishmat Gila, but I'm worried about you. Don't become consumed by that work. Remember that there's reasons to live, that there's a family around you, that there are other ideas and other values and other virtues and other pursuits that you should be involved in as well. And I said, I get that. But I thought about it for a moment and I thought to myself, that's true. But to a large extent, if Gabby and I understand that HaKadosh Baruch Hu, the only reason why Gila is not with us is because HaKadosh Baruch Hu, because God ultimately decided that it was time for her to return her neshama to Him, then really I said to myself, the only source for comfort that I can have, the only reason for my existence, is to be Mekadesh, to sanctify her name, to sanctify God's name, to sanctify the name of the Jewish people in her name, Li'ilui Nishmata, in her memory. And I think that that's really what it says here in the context of this pasuk. Bezot ya'avo Aharon el HaKodesh. The only source for comfort that Aharon could find was a sense of purpose, a sense of peace, a sense of tranquility, a sense of understanding the reason and the purpose for his existence, for who he was, in and within the context of serving God. And therefore, this week is a week, the Parsha is allocated for that purpose, to remind those around us of what our purpose is, of how we can indeed sanctify and commemorate the memory of our dear, loved, and lost ones. This week, I believe that we were able to demonstrate and reveal that purpose even further, and with further and deeper exposure. This week, Mental Health First Aid introduced its first instructors course. 12 instructors, including myself, proudly qualified to now be able to disseminate a message, to disseminate the message of helping others ground themselves, those who might experience a mental challenge, a breakdown in mental illness, to give them first aid, mental health first aid, to bring them back to themselves and to hopefully assist them to bring them somewhere where they can once again find recovery and a better, more wholesome, and, of course, a happier life. There are so many lost children, so many family members who are affected by mental health today. It is so vital, so important that this cause, that this effort by Ogen, the Amuta Ogen organization, by Stuart Katz, that it finally has seen fruition. And that we, as those ambassadors, will hopefully be able to disseminate that message as a result of having taken this course. And therefore, this is just one more thing, another plan, another reason, Bezot Yavo Aharon el HaKodesh, for us to equip ourselves, to amass a certain amount of inner strength, that resilience that Aharon was given by HaKadosh Baruch Hu, we too demonstrate that resilience by stating to the world around us that we lost someone physically, but we are not willing to live them morally, ethically, values, and spiritually. They will continue to resonate within us based on the work that we do to help others in this world. And there's one more thing that I want to point out, and that is, there's only one other place in the Torah where the word bezot is used. Bezot yavo Aharon, as we said in this week's Parsha, but it is also used in Bereshit with regards to Zot Briti Asher Tishmeru. Zot, this is the Brit, the covenant, on the 8th day, the circumcision of the babe that takes place, of the boy that was born, to enter the covenant and the Brit, to strike that pact with HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that he too will enter the Jewish people, the Jewish nation, and will serve God with holiness and divinity, and hopefully adopt and embrace purpose in his world as well. And therefore, on the Brit Milah is on the 8th day, and the Kohen, Hagadol, just like Aharon HaKohen, dons the 8 begadim, the 8 special clothings as part of his uniform to serve Hashem. And my statement is that not only do we serve and demonstrate that our purpose resonates by what we do in this life, but hopefully as a result of our efforts, not only we will be able to save lives and preserve lives, but we'll also be able to witness more of those days of the Brit Milah, Zot Briti Asher Tishmeru, introducing new life into this world, new generations that can propagate and that can certainly perpetuate those messages of resilience, of divinity, spirituality, and service of Hashem and Am Yisrael. May we only know smachot, happiness, joyous occasions. I wish all of you Shabbat Shalom.